Welcome to Tao Living, the Art of Living podcast with your host, Lou Corletto, where you will be supported to remember that you are the driver and not the vehicle, so that you can walk your life in trust. Welcome to the Tao Living podcast. I'm excited to introduce my next guest speaker, who has consistently exceeded expectations during his formative and professional years to do what many would describe as an overachiever. For the last decade, Joseph worked as a trusted financial analyst at a Chicago-based global management consulting firm, where he was known as the go-to lead for challenging initiatives as a result of his high-performance standards. When he wasn't burning the midnight oil, Joseph spent his time focused on health and business coaching, a lifestyle that eventually led to low energy and burnout. Knowing he had to make a change, Joseph evaluated his life's plan and sought tools and programs that would help him create sustainability, balance, in all areas of his life. In 2019, he left his job and comfortable income as a trusted financial analyst to become an entrepreneur. Joseph spends his time in strategic consulting with organizations, along with mentorship in the e-commerce space. Joseph now claims to be a retired Chicagoan who now lives in Tampa, Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, help me and welcome Mr. Joseph Arthur. Joseph Arthur. The reason I hesitated was because I see him on the screen right now, and there's this light that comes out of this man. There's this permeation of joy that you can't fake. There's this resonance of inner peace that when you see his smile, you know this man has hit a place that he's walking in his life, that he has the journey that he's taking. He's overcome obstacles, learned how to heal from them, integrate them, and move forward in a style that, quite frankly, if you haven't done the work, is envious, because it is that place of joy and peace that he walks in on a daily basis. Which is why I invited him on the show. Joseph and I met indirectly. We were doing a training.
Yep.
And it was an online training, and he and I were both there, and it was a 4-day training, and we connected that way, and then we connected off to the side through some kind of social. And I just watched the way this man was showing up and serving with honesty and authenticity, joy, laughter, humor, but also truthful conversation. Like, hey, people, what about this? Right? So lovingly, kind of in your face, where are you at with this? I'm like, oh, I liked him then. I really like him now. So, Joseph, I appreciate your time for saying yes to this conversation and being here with us.
Thank you so much, man. Lou, I tell you, when I become famous, I'm going to have you introduce me every time.
He's funny. And so before we hit, record live at this point, Joseph and I were connecting and just some other pieces before we hit the go button. And there's some of his background that I would like him to share. So if you don't mind, give us a quick journey from your beginnings, because you have no accent left of where you grew up, at least to my ear. So,
Yeah.
Where you grew up, and then that transition from leaving your culture, leaving a different continent, showing up in this continent, having to emerge in a different culture on so many levels.
Absolutely.
And then how you became, as I shared in the intro, this super successful man in the financial analysis world. So take us on that journey real quick, please.
Oh, man. Thanks. Well, I was born and raised in Nigeria. And it's funny you say I don't have an accent, but when I speak to another Nigerian, it actually pops up. So
cool.
I had to pick up a phone with my mom or my sister. It's like instant. And what's interesting also is the fact that actually when I pray in my original accent.
Oh, beautiful.
That's just a natural thing for me to do. But so born and raised in Nigeria, family it just got to a point where my mom decided, I've got two older sisters. They're both married with kids now. And my mom just got to a point where the schools here are just not progressing, and we need better schools for the kids. So my dad initially moved here first about in 92, 93. And then we came, my sisters and I, in 95. And we moved to Chicago, which we lived in the city, and eventually moved out to the suburbs. That's where I went to grammar school. I went to high school and also went to college. And upon graduation from college, I got a really cool, good job with a consultant firm in the city of Chicago as a financial analyst / accountant, which I was there for about 11 years. And on a part-time basis, I also did a good amount of health coaching, which was what exposed me to personal development, growth, and all that. And in 2019, I was just fed up, man. I got to a point where I possibly even faced some level of depression. And I was working for a boss that I call a slave driver, and you had to be on, instead of a 9 to 5, I was working from basically 8:30 to 6, getting to home at about 7:30, late dinner, jumping back online from 9 to about midnight to train India on how to take jobs out of the United States. And I just got to a point where I hit a wall, and it was just how much further, if I were married at that point, I probably would be getting a divorce. It was just that bad. So in 2019, I decided it was my time to part ways, did it gracefully. They asked, my goodness, what can we do to make you stay? And I said, pay me $1 million, which obviously was not possible. And I ended up walking away and jumping on full time into the entrepreneurship world. And it's been a journey, but a great journey, great growth journey. And now I live in Tampa, Florida.
So first of all, thank you for that beautiful, eloquent, succinct, sharing, right? So, and ladies and gentlemen listening, I would like to key into some of the pieces that I heard from that for all of us to unpack, which is how easy it would have been in the societal terms to stick with a job that's sucking the life out of me because it's burning, I'm burning the candle at both ends, because of the income, right? So that once metric in our, especially this Western culture, I'm successful, right? I'm successful because I've got this cool job and I'm making all this money.
Yep.
Yet, where's my life?
Yes.
Right? Like you said, if you were in a relationship, that thing's burning, right? Because I'm no longer spending time with my family. Even if I only have one other person in my family, a significant other, I don't see them anymore, right? And wonder why they're not happy because I'm not around, right? So as you're listening to this communication, right, this conversation we're having, listeners, where are you at with that, right? Are you in a position, like I watch too many people that aren't even running the course that you were, Joseph, of that amount of time putting in, but they're putting in time in a place it doesn't bring them happiness and joy. They're showing up because it pays for their insurance, right?
Yes.
They're in a place that they do not like, and they don't realize how that's massively impacting their heart and soul.
Big time. And
the psychological place of trap, but I can't, right? Because this is here, it's working. So how did you take that thing to go, nope, in the one sense, cool, it's working. In the other sense, it's not. And having the courage to walk out knowing you can create something else. How do you make that transition? What tools can you give the people that are listening who might be in a similar dance going, I get it, but I'm too afraid. I'm too mentally trapped to set myself free.
Man, that's such a great question. And my heart goes out to the folks that are in that position, because it's an unhealthy cycle. And I understand how you could sit there because your bills are being paid. And, I'm a father. I became a father at the age of 15. And that's another story we could totally dive into. But there were multiple variables that brought me to that place of it's done. This time is over. And like I said, I struggled because I would get up in the morning and go to the gym. And after a while, I found myself not going to the gym because I was just beyond exhausted. I would show up to work and my eyes were bloodshot red. I'm in my mid 30s and my eyes are bloodshot red. I'm not overweight, but I was starting to put on the weight, and I was afraid. I got to the place of fear. And mind you, I understand health. So eyes bloodshot red, that is screaming. That's like lights on your dashboard saying you are running out of gas, my friend. So that's a signal. And I started to pay attention to all that. And I was getting nervous. I was getting afraid, to the point that when I would get out of work, the days that I did have off and I was exhausted and I just needed to laugh, I'd go home and I'd watch Elf, even if it was summer, just so I could laugh, because I knew that was medicine for my body to heal. And I will never forget getting into the gym one morning on a Saturday and eyes bloodshot red, walked on the gym floor and looked at myself, and I never ever speak to myself this way. And I just said, "You look like shit."
Mm.
And that was a moment of, okay, what are you going to do about this? You have two choices. You only have two choices, and that's it. It's either you stay or you leave. Those are your two choices, nothing else. So for anyone that's paying attention right now, if you've gotten to that place where you're fed up and you're tired, my friend, I want to encourage you. Those are your two choices. And it's either you're going to sink and be complacent, or you're going to stand and say, I'm going to take a stand and do something different. So that happened. And another thing that also in this whole process, I got to the point where Monday through Friday, I was working. Saturday was what I called Joe Day, and Sunday was anxiety day. Now, I'm all about self-care. I'm all about taking care of yourself, respecting you as an individual, respecting the gift of a body that we've all been given. And it got to the point where self-care Joe Day was selfish Joe Day, which, let's just say my family had an event that started at 4. I started responding when I heard the time. No, I'll get there when I'm going to get there. And I had to check myself and say, and who in the heck do you think you are?
Mm.
That you're so important that no one else is important.
Mm.
Is this who you want to be? I had to ask those tough questions. So for anyone that's in that position, it's time to do some evaluation, to do some deep audit, to ask yourself some challenging questions, to look in the mirror and just get transparent, because there is victory on the other side of those hard questions if you go through it, if you get clear with it. So I got to that point where I had to answer, and who do you think you are? You're so important that no one else is important, even your family. Is this the person that you want to be? And I had to be honest and said, no, 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 no. So what needs to change? What needs to change? And it's time for it to change. Those were two big moments. And in 2019, I'm grateful she's beating it, but we found out my mom was struggling with stage 2 to 3 breast cancer. And that on its own impacted, because I had worked for this company for 11 years and my supervisor had known me. She's known my work ethic. And my sister and I would go to my mom's doctor's appointments together. And at one point, and I know this woman was operating out of fear of losing me. When I told her, hey, my mom has an appointment and I want to go with her, she stops me and asks, are you going to a job interview?
Mm.
And from a character perspective, that was like a knife to my chest, because you know me, but now you're so afraid of losing me that you've actually lost me.
Mm.
So those were some just milestones that pushed me to making that decision. And it's either you stay or you go. And I didn't quite know exactly where I was going, but I knew one thing: I had to get out of here.
Staying here is going to kill me.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't want to make an assumption, so I'll ask. You said Saturday was Joe Day and Sunday was anxiety day. Is that because of Mondays coming?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So in that place. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you might have heard this stat, you might not have heard the stat yet. It's quite interesting. And that is that human beings are the only species on the planet who have this ability, or who are doing this. And that is, there is one day of the week that people die more than any other day of the week. And there's a specific time than any other day of the week. So more humans die on Monday morning, early in the morning, of heart attacks. No other species does this, right?
Wow.
And when you extrapolate the data, it's simply because anxiety Sunday, right? Like we've labeled the week. It's only been 2 days and it's already hump day, right? So we start Monday, it's a hump day. It's only been 2 days and you're crawling to get through life to then TGIF, like, thank God I made it. Then I can do whatever my poison is, right? To sedate of the trauma. And most people go out and then get inebriated. And then oh my God, here comes Monday, right?
Yes.
That is an honesty place to look at. If you're in that hamster wheel,
Mhm.
really pay attention to that. That's not sustainable to anybody. Emotionally, psychologically, physically, the body cannot sustain that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those are signs to go, okay, how can I change the dance minimally? Like, can I show up differently in the relationship to this thing that I'm doing?
Right.
Or is it time to bail? Like one of them. But
Mhm.
doing the same is not going to work, right? No doubt. So, um, and that leap, the leap
Yep.
of going, okay, I've made a decision. No, where does the courage come in to say, but I know I can recreate something new. I will attract a new opportunity, be it to work somewhere else, or as you did, you went out and just on your own to become an entrepreneur and create your own life.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that force within you that says, the fear base is I can't leave this, so that trap, and then the courage basis says, nope, I can make this happen.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So, like, what strategies and tools can you feed the listening audience to say, here, these are the two that we can listen to, the one that takes us out or the one that sets us free?
absolutely. You know, one, the reality is knowing that the opportunity that I had, again, company treated me well for the most part. Obviously, we all have the rocky roads in every situation. It's knowing that I'm valuable enough that I go on this adventure of being an entrepreneur. If it doesn't work out, I can find another job.
Mm.
It's not the end of the world. I think we oftentimes forget the fact that at the end of life, we're not going to be alive. The game is over, you know? So either you go out swinging hard or you stay in the bleachers. Either way, both people are going to die. So, and either way, it's going to be hard. You have to decide on which hard you want.
Mm.
You know, I can get out, be an entrepreneur, start something fresh, all of it, or I can go find another job. Those were other options. So we all have options. But again, being in that place where I was, this is where I want people to understand. I I get it. It's hard to think beyond when you're in that place where you feel like you're drowning. It's really, really hard. These questions are not the easiest to find. So my hope is whoever's, to all the listeners right now, you took a pen and you wrote down these questions so you could sit down and process through them, because it's where you are right now. There is almost like blinders on. And to think beyond those blinders is very, very hard. It's almost like telling a depressed person to right now instantly get excited. It's just it's so hard for the brain to make such a quick adjustment and to believe that this is the new me. So I want you guys to understand that I get where you are. I completely understand it. And my hope, like I said, is you've taken down the questions that I asked myself, and you're going to spend time pondering through those questions. And those questions could arise emotions. And that's okay. That's you processing through some of the stress that's been built up. And in that process, my hope is you come to some level of conclusion, something to be able to walk yourself out of this situation that you are. So the courage, to answer your question, is knowing that I step out of here, it's not the end of my life. There are options. We all have options. It's just a matter of us uncovering the options.
Love it. There's a piece, ladies and gentlemen, that Joseph would just share that popped for me, which is it's where you are, but it's not who you are.
Yep.
And oftentimes we get we mix up that mix up that message and start to identify where we are with who we are.
We are. Yep.
So when we're in a place that seems stuck or challenging or like I can't get out of this, then we start to self-identify like, oh, there's something up with me, or I don't have nonsense, right? So take a breath and remember, no matter where you are, that's all it is. It's just where you are, but it's not who you are.
Exactly.
And the whole point of the Tao Living podcast is to help you continue to remember you're the driver, not the vehicle, right? You're the magic inside. This is just how you get around. I'm touching my body, right? So your vehicle, your body, this beautiful temple, yet it is just how you get around. So you are inside the driver, and that's unlimited potential.
That's
You've been given grace, right? It's the unlimited potential. So don't confuse the momentary space where you're at with who you are and what you're capable of. When you focus on that, the doors of possibility open. When you focus on where you're stuck and what seems no way out, then that's what continues to feed itself. Yep.
exactly. And that grace is such an empowerment that we've been filled with.
Oh, yes, sir. And so on that note, let's kind of unpack that a little bit. What are things you do to what I call manage your environment, right? Manage your environment, meaning what do I allow into my cranium, right? So thoughts, what do I put in here to feed this vehicle? And what do I put into my heart? So how do I manage my environment? When, like as a coach and as a consultant, when you're working with clients, where they're not managing their environment, meaning they're hanging out with people that aren't reinforcing their greatness, right?
Absolutely.
But they're family. Okay, but if the family's sucking you dry, or keeping you stuck into old ways of being, love them from a distance, right? Send them a postcard, but set yourself free, because it's your responsibility to stay in unhealthy environments, be it a
Yes.
workplace or a relationship or family or whoever that is. So, Joseph,
Mm.
what tools would you share with the folks about managing their environment?
Mm. Oh, that's healthy. First, I want to preface before I even jump into my answer. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm pouring my beliefs on anyone. I'm a man of faith, and that's where I speak from. I start my day off, number one, because I know the world is chaotic and wild, and I will actually cancel all my calls and all my sessions for the day if I don't get my heart right in the morning. Who am I to go out in this wild world when my heart is not centered and ready? Who am I? Because the work that I am privileged to do now is so deep in people's lives that when I'm working with individuals, when I'm working with clients, when I'm mentoring people, I'm not only mentoring this one individual, I'm mentoring people and lives that are beyond my lifetime. So I'm extra cautious of that. So the first thing I do is I go to the Bible and I read. I go to the Bible, I read scripture, I pray, I surrender, I ask the Lord to help me, because I'm just one individual in this beautiful chaotic creation that we all hear. So that's where I start. And then the next thing is I fill my body with nutrients. I get up, I have apple cider vinegar with some maple syrup and some water. I get that going. I have some healthy greens, and then my morning concoction, which is fresh squeezed lemon with honey, cayenne pepper, and some hot water. And that's how we get this body going. I do some stretches to really get the body moving, to really just open up the body, because we've slept, now we're up. So I get the stretch in, and that helps activate the digestive system. And then either get a quick workout in the morning or get some breakfast. But really, that's the first part of my day. And then I also schedule time to read some sort of personal development. I'm not much of to me, I love growth. If I'm not growing, I'm stagnant and I'm frustrated. There is I don't believe in stagnance when it comes to human beings. It's either you're growing or you're dying. Those are the only options. When you feel stagnant, you're actually dying, you're decreasing. So I spend time to either read a book or listen to a podcast. The book I'm currently reading is Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. And I've loved him as an actor, and I've loved his delivery, and I love the book that he's written right now. So I get to pick up nuggets from autobiographies such as that. So I get to really learn from individuals that have had success that hey, I see you and I respect what you've done. How can I learn from that? So I do that. And also I've been blessed and privileged to be around just amazing individuals, amazing couples, in this wild world. I, I, I truly feel blessed with the people I've been surrounded, because I, I always say this. I believe in my mother's prayers. And there's a saying in our language that I'll say it and then I'll interpret what it means. The meaning of that is to accompany my children beyond their fears.
Mm.
And when you're beyond your fears, you're in a comfortable place and you're surrounded by healthy relationships. And I see that in my life. And my mother has said that over and over and over again. And I see that in my life today.
Mm.
So to summarize what I just mentioned, number one, I fill my heart up. And then I fill my body up. And then I also look at the relationships around me. And also, I don't have a problem with distancing myself from people. An example, I will fight loyalty. I'm almost loyal to a fault, but I will fight with anyone. I mean, fight alongside with them in whatever situation. I have, being a coach, I have people reach out to me wanting to have conversations, process through all sorts of things. As a matter of fact, a longtime friend, she was struggling with alcohol. And unfortunately, she would, manipulate the situation and flip things around and make it seem like I'm the bad person and turn it around. And I just had to just distance myself from her. I love you, but I'll love you from a distance. And at one point, I completely blocked her because of what she did. And she fought for months to get my attention back. And I, when we connected, after a while, I opened up the communication and I just said, listen, I can help you and I want to help you and I want to be your friend, but I'm unwilling to take any abuse from you. I just will not do that. I care about you as an individual. I care about who you are. I care about you. And I'm here to help you. I'm here to provide you with whatever resources that I possibly can, connect you with whoever I can. But I'm unwilling to sit down and absorb any sort of abuse. It's just, there's no room for it. So I don't have a problem with setting those solid boundaries as needed.
Oh.
So that summarizes my
Yeah. Beautiful. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this is my term, managing your environment. And as Joseph just unpacked it, what I would like for me is to look at the way he expressed that. And so first and foremost, he got himself right. He connected in his process, his spiritual connection, to get his heart centered. And to me, the way he described that, this piece of integrity, he is involved in influencing others, and he would cancel the day if he's not right. Wow. How many people will do that? These are clients who are paying, and to say, I'd rather not engage with you because I'm not right, therefore I can't be of full service, versus showing up, quite frankly, half-ass. Because I have an appointment, I have an obligation, knowing I'm not centered, right? So I'm not bringing my A game. Wow. Right. Just that alone. What if just a 2 percentage point of the human population adopted that one skill set, that one strategy, how we would bring more respect back to relationship, right? The most, I was with a dear friend last week on an interview, and he's been in practice for 45 years. And one of the things that he spoke about, which was the depth of authenticity in a relationship. When you're with a person communicating, the greatest gift you can do is be fully present.
That's it.
Right. And then we talked about how profound that is.
Yes.
Because that sets a field for everybody that's in the field of that communication, right? Everything is affected. So getting himself right, honoring his body with the nutrients that works for him.
Yes.
Did you hear him say the first thing he did was get up and look at his cell phone to read social media and to get in the email, to get lost in someone else's flow? Did he turn on the news, right? No, that didn't show up in any of the conversation.
Oh, no.
And which is why he's managing his environment, right? And the beautiful place of his mom's prayer, right? Which is fear is the illusion, my interpretation. Fear is the illusion that there's something greater than God. When we start feeding that direction versus staying true, taking a breath, remembering what's real and authentic, and what's possible versus what's not possible.
Exactly.
What are you focusing on? What's not working or what is, right? Are you focusing on the struggle, or are you grateful for what's here and what's possible? Yeah.
Yep.
And my tablet just went. That's funny. Because I just wrote something else. Oh well, not supposed to get back to that thought. Um, and so the pieces that you heard from Joseph's flow, ladies and gentlemen, how do you reclaim your morning? Right, the old adage from be the captain of your ship because it is your job.
Yep.
So manage your environment. Get your body right, get your
Yes.
mind right, get your heart right.
Yes.
And then step into your day and be of service, whenever that is to you, as a mother, as a teacher, as an employee, an employer, a business owner, whatever your flow is.
Yes.
But do your part to show up as the most amazing, beautiful person that you are.
That's
And
it.
express that. So, because then we can make a world of difference. And in Joseph's description of, again, back to my term, managing your environment, he's the one managing it.
Yep.
He's not letting other people tell him where the flow is supposed to go. He's the captain of his ship, right? So, and if you give up the reins of your ship, someone else is going to steer it, and they're usually going to wreck it and leave it stuck on the reef for you.
Yep.
And the greatest piece right now, and what's moving through me in this moment, is especially working with clients. Too many people have given up the reins of their mind.
Mm-hmm.
So their mind is in control of their life, right? The mind is a tool for you. It's a great tool, but it's a crappy master.
Just like money.
Yeah, right. 100%. Great tool, crappy master. So when specifically with both of them, but with the mind, it's your job, right? So you're the captain of the ship. It's your job. Grab the reins of your mind and get it back under control. So you can use it as a tool. Do not let it use you, because it'll keep you stuck in the busyness, in distractions, in fear.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
So that was just a flow off of your flow. And brother, wherever you want to take it next, because I'm in a buzz riding your wave.
Man.
Yeah. Here's another piece that you shared. That was a thought that didn't come back out of my note on the tablet, which was, and I've shared this a number of times. Beautiful book. You've probably read it. And I've shared this on the podcast many times. Bonnie Ware, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. She was a hospice nurse, and she was watching these themes run through all the people who were making their transition, who were, graduating to the next level. And the number one, right? There were 5 regrets of the dying. They're all powerful, but they were in order of commonplace of showing up with people dying with regrets. And the number one regret was, I wished I lived a life true to myself, not one expected by others. Right?
Oof.
And how many people that are dying realize on their deathbed, like, game's up.
Yeah.
I don't get another turn. Oh my God, I realize I have not lived my life. I've shown up for the way people want me to show up. I've never discovered who I am and what I have to offer.
Yeah.
Ouch. Right.
It is.
And having been a healing practitioner for 35 years, I've been in many people's, times of passing, during their transition, death, whatever each person wants to call that. Regret is a heavy place to be when you're transitioning.
It absolutely is. And
so this conversation that Joseph and I are having is really about, how do you live this life? Like he said, look, no matter what you do, no one gets out alive, right?
So, sure.
And there's no U-Haul behind a hearse. You've never seen it. You can't take your stuff with you, right? So if you're into collecting the material world stuff, okay, great, but you can't take it with you, right? If it's a hobby, have at it. Collect all the things you want. But if it's giving you validation of who you are, that's going to crash and burn on you.
Absolutely.
And so our invitation to you is, what can you do right now in this moment to make sure you're living in a way that when your ticket's pulled, could be tonight, tomorrow, or 100 years from now, right? I don't know mine, and nobody has that guarantee of tomorrow.
That's it.
How are you living full out to make sure indeed that when you make your transition, there is no regret?
There is none.
Yeah.
Mm, that's such a loaded question,
Mm.
man. To touch on just regrets in general, and the whole thought behind I didn't show up as I should show up, but I showed up as people expected me. I love and appreciate so much of my Nigerian culture.
Mm.
The challenge that I have with the culture is it's almost like if you're not a doctor, you're not an engineer, um, you're not an attorney, it's almost like you didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I am almost like the black sheep in the culture, really. I'm in the culture, but I'm not in the culture, if that makes sense. And I've gotten to a place in my heart with such peace that it doesn't matter what is said to me. Has it gone through the proper filters of my personal morals and values to the point that I'm at peace with that? And that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of personal development. That takes a lot of personal conviction to get to that state of I'm going to filter certain, everything and make sure it matches. So I did the accounting thing. Accounting was one of the professions that's heavily looked upon as, yes, you made it. You got there. I did it.
You're somebody.
So unsatisfied. I was so unsatisfied that it was time to leave. And today, because of the introvert side of me, believe it or not, I'm a huge introvert. I would call myself a situational extrovert, but I got to a place where I had a lot of regrets. And I started to grow and to realize the pain of regret just sucks. And believe it or not, this move to Florida, I had the desire for about 8-9 years. And all my friends, people did not think I would do it. And even if I were to be blunt, I didn't think I would do it. But it just got to a place and a point where it's either you're going to do it now or you're going to regret it. Which one? Again, got to that milestone of a decision again. It's either you're going to go or you're going to regret it. And one of the reasons why I personally just stayed away from a romantic relationship in Chicago was I didn't want to find her in Chicago and say, sweetheart, I'm moving to Tampa and I'm not moving for a job. And she stops and says, well, what about us? What do you mean? What about us? So my goal, my desire is to live every day with as little regrets as possible. And it doesn't matter how stupid or how fun or how wild I may look. That's okay. As long as I limit. Now, can we have completely zero regrets? I don't know if anyone could, but my goal is to reduce as much as possible. And I put up a friend of mine. He was one of my good friends. He's from Chicago, came here last weekend, and he's done very well in the real estate world. And he said, man, whenever I'm feeling unmotivated, I ask myself this one question: how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And I have asked myself that question a lot, especially when I'm working out and it gets to that point of, being tired. But then I thought about that question and said, man, how can I even add another layer of security to that question? And the second part of that question I'd ask myself is, if I quit right now, would I regret it? Would I regret it? Is there a speck of regret in here? If I don't take this action, is there a speck of regret? If I don't say this right now, is there going to be some regret? And if there is even that speck, that's enough motivation to keep it moving. And you and I know the pain of regret, just like we discussed. Goodness gracious, it's one where it haunts us. And I want to limit as much of that regret as possible. And my hope is you listeners out there, you can sit down and first of all, just ask yourself, what regrets have you right now that you just wish you could have taken action? And I think once you start to uncover that, you might get to a point of high irritation that you want to start to reduce the amount of regrets going forward. That's that self-audit again that I believe is so healthy to do.
Beautiful. Thank you. And on following up on that is, connection to this self audit. I love that. This honesty investigation,
Yeah.
and it's quit lying to ourselves, right? How many things do you have on your someday list?
Yes.
Right, that's just the biggest crock of feces, right?
Someday
Because
Island.
yeah, pull open the calendar. There's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, blah blah blah, but there's no someday on a calendar,
I
right?
love that.
It's not happening.
I
So, and
love it.
I used to have, I used to have a someday calendar. And so this honesty place, whatever that is, if it's a place to travel to, right, get to it. If it's a connection to heal, get to it,
Yeah.
right? Stop lying to yourself about someday. Prioritize, meaning prior, which is the root word, meaning number one, right? This
Yeah.
is important.
Mhm.
So get that important list out and start getting to it. Quit lying to yourself about what's not important and giving that priority versus what's really important. Your health, your life, your connection to source, your connection to God, your connection to family, friends, like wherever that is for you in your own ranking, right? I don't know what that is for you. You do. And be honest with yourself and start fueling that.
Yes.
So you have, and the more you do that, then the more light you feel instead of the heaviness, right? Because the world's gotten funky the last couple of years, and it's not a mystery. It's going to keep getting funky for the next couple. Really, as has been said, this is winter, right? And not seasonal time, but life energetic time on planet Earth. This is winter time. And it's time for you to tap into places of courage that maybe you haven't accessed yet, or you haven't accessed in a long time. And in that place of courage is to reclaim who you be, right? My vernacular, to show up and live the authentic life for yourself, first and foremost, and for those around you. So you can then inspire them by your actions, not to prove, none of that ego stuff, because it's a direct byproduct of you just showing up. Exactly. And the world needs us to show up, right? But you need it for yourself first.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
So, my friend, I just looked down and saw the time clicking by. This is, such a flow. There's so many more things I would love to unpack. Let's hold space to do this again. In closing, a couple of things. One, as we wrap, what would you like to leave for the listening audience, if there's something left in there? I know you have more, but I meant in this moment. Yeah. And also, how would you like to reach them so they can tap into your continued wisdom that you share and teach, or be it the website or your link to coaching, and ways they can follow you on social to stay in the embers of the light that you emit.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, a message. If I look at it right now, that I have this mic where I get a chance to speak to everyone on planet Earth. And my message to anyone would be the one. Be the one that says, stop the nonsense. Be the one that makes the mark in your family that you will be remembered generations to come. Be the one that says, enough of this crap, enough of this dissatisfaction of feelings, this limited life, this I'm going to sit in the stands and watch everybody else play in the arena and not get in the arena. Be the one that people talk about. Be the one that stands up for what's right. Be the one that stands up for what's good and what's true, despite who is listening, despite who is there. Be the one that has the guts to stand up for justice and what's right. Be that one. That would be my message to each and every one, because we're in a state where people are so afraid to be honest. People are so afraid to be authentic. Goodness gracious. I'm not saying go and jump in people's face, but stand up for what's right. Stand up for what's true and what's honest. Be that one that generations beyond your lifetime talk about and say, wow, they made a stand. Wow, man, I respect them so much. Be that one.
Evil can only prevail when enough good people do nothing, right?
That's exactly it. And how people can connect with me, very simple. My name is Joseph, like the father of Jesus. O as in orange in the middle, and Arthur. So Joseph O. Arthur. And I say, Joseph, like the father of Jesus, O as in orange, Arthur, like the king. Joseph O. Arthur.
I love it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's the verbal you can hear, but I will have an active hyperlink in the show notes so you can access that link directly. And so, my brother, I appreciate you taking your time from your flow to have this conversation with me, as you've inspired me, and for the listening audience. So thank you for that. And ladies and gentlemen, if you just sit back passively and listen and say, wow, that was nice. Okay, cool. That was great. But then it's a fleeting thought and it's gone.
That's it.
Take this to action. Take it to heart. And especially the wrap up that Joseph just shared. Be the one. Show up. Have the courage to take a stand for what you believe in and stand for that. As he said, you don't have to be arrogant or you don't have to be that way, but be, don't keep it silent. And my last piece, which is go on a media starving diet. Unplug from the narrative that's being driven into your cranium and into your heart about what you're not.
Yes.
Because that's all it's driving. Yep. The fear, the lack, the limitation, what you're not capable of on so many levels. And it's it's not just nonsense. It's a flat out lie.
Yeah.
Right. So unplug from the story that's telling you who you're not. And you reconnect, as Joseph described in his morning routine, to what's important to you, to remember what's true and honest and real for you and who you are, and grab the reins of that and step into your life.
Thank you so much, Lou. Yeah. Greatly appreciate this time with you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Love and appreciate you, my friend. Yes, sir. Until next time, abundant blessings.
You too.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Get to it. Remember who you be. Ciao.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tao Living Podcast, The Art of Living. Now go to loucorletto.com, LOUCORLETO.com, to receive your free training, the operator's manual for your vehicle. See, when you buy a phone, you get a manual. When you buy a car, you get a manual. When you entered your body, no manual. Let me teach you how it's really designed to work. Also, help me help others and share this podcast far and wide. And subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, abundant blessings.